It's time for the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan. Blake Sloan, one of the top real estate agents not only on the Grand Strand, but in the world. He's been featured in Forbes magazine, the Wall Street Journal, NBC, and many other publications. And now, the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan.
Welcome to Blake Sloan Real Estate Show. Awesome news show. All kind of stuff going on. Some good news finally we got in the real estate world here. We'll talk about nationally and also some good stuff here locally. We'll talk about. It's all kind of great stuff on today's show. We have the brand new market numbers in. For anyone that missed last week's show, we dove into the micro market numbers. This week, we'll just recap the overall macro market numbers, but some good news in new properties under contract bumped up this past week over $200 million in sales here on the Grand Strand, which is great news. It's really kind of what we wanted to see. And it really came off the heels of rates going back down a little bit. We talked last week's show. We saw a new high come with the rates over 7%. They dropped back below 7%. So we'll talk about what's happening right now, what rates did this last week. They did go back up a little bit, but so far the market's still rock and rolling, which is awesome news there. Overall, some great new national news out. The Wall Street Journal just came out with an article today that says the housing recession already happened, quote, in the overall article. We'll break that down, what they're saying, what they're talking about. I certainly hope that may be the case. I'll just talk about what that has to do with it. And it really just talks about the major problems still across the country in regards to housing as a whole, in both new construction and resale, comes down to just inventory shortages and population growth outgrowing the amount of inventory for sale. So we'll talk about that. Overall, we on last week's show didn't have a lot of time to get to it just because we did the micro market. Some major national news that said home prices fell for the first time in 11 years. We'll talk about that overall in that scenario. But also, our team, we actually just bought another property this week. Has a couple who's an amazing couple. They bought a property in Florida. They were going to lose that property in Florida. They basically put a contract on a new construction house in Florida. They had a certain timeline to get it sold. They tried to sell it themselves. They came to us. They wanted an instant fair buyout. We gave them a great price. And we got that actually purchased for them. They're able to move on. Super happy, which is great news overall with that as well. So also amazing success stories. Our team's absolutely crushing it. We do the same thing we do every week here, which is the same thing we're doing for 14 plus years on the show. And that's just to help keep you updated with everything real estate related here on the Grand Strand, also nationally, because for most people, real estate's one of the largest assets that they have. And so it's important for us to make sure that we're able to share information, share data, and help you make better decisions. And that's the whole goal we have here every single day. And we'll do that today's show.
All right, a lot of stuff to get to. If you just tuned in for the very first time and you're not sure who you're listening to or what you're listening to, it's the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show, hosted by, of course, Blake Sloan. Blake Sloan has been called real estate whiz. He's been featured in Forbes magazine, Wall Street Journal, Realtor magazine, other national, both home sellers and home buyers. So we can give you all the details, but more than happy every week tell you the most important part of that system.
Yes, and like we talked about, that's the whole DNA behind this show is we really want to just help people and help people make better decisions. And I made a promise a long time ago, after just experiencing from other people horror story after horror story after horror story that they experienced, even people who listen to our show and they listened for a while, for a couple of years, and they still made the same mistake, and then they call us afterwards, and some of which we could help because they actually didn't sell and they hadn't sold it yet. Some we couldn't help because they already had sold it, but they made a mistake and left $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 on the table. So I made a promise that, look, we'll talk about this every week because it's that important. And it really just comes down to the number one mistake that anyone makes in terms of real estate. And the mistake they make is thinking that all agents are the same. It's just such a big just kind of misjudgment for consumers, where it doesn't matter how many houses they've sold, they still kind of make the decision based on the wrong criteria. They pick agents based on who the cheapest is, who their friend recommended, without actually asking the right questions. And so the reality is the single most important variable that determines your failure or success as a home seller comes into one thing and one thing only. And that thing is the agent that you choose, period, right? Not the wall color, not the grass quality. It comes down to your agent. Specifically, how does your agent actually execute in the task of getting your home sold? And so what most people don't realize in selling a property is 118 different variables from A to Z. That's a lot for one single person to handle. Not to mention most agents have more than one listing. And so the reality is what happens is if they don't handle all those variables in the right way, in the right order, it ends up being the ball gets dropped and it costs you your hard-earned equity, or it costs you your very important time in regards to your property being on the market. Most of the time, what I see, it costs them both, and either it takes longer to sell or they leave money on the table in terms. And the biggest mistake I think people don't realize is they sell the property and they think they did great, but they don't realize if they actually had gone with a professional, they could have got more money for the property and put more money in their pocket. And so that's super, super important to understand. It's just like anything where it's a service-based business. And I'll talk about this all the time. It doesn't matter if it's a doctor, if it's a lawyer, if it's a waiter or waitress. It all has to deal with people. And unfortunately, in a business like real estate, it's very, very, very dependent on that specific person that you use and specifically how they execute. We've all been to a restaurant where you have a fantastic experience. It's amazing. Everything goes perfect from A to Z. And we've all been to somewhere that's absolutely terrible, right? The common denominator is they both have people who are serving you. And the reality is you see the same exact thing here in real estate. Now, imagine going to a restaurant every single time where the waiter or waitress has only done 4 tables their entire year. Not going to be very good service, but guess what? In real estate, the average agent or marketplace sells 4 homes a year, and that's why the service is not very good, because they're selling 1 home per quarter. And so what you want to make sure you understand is you don't want to gamble with your hard-earned equity. Most people, it takes 20, 30 years to build this hard-earned equity. Don't throw it away by spending 15, 20 minutes picking the wrong real estate agent. And most people don't have the right criteria. They don't ask the right questions. And so I do this show to share and just kind of get some exposure. Like, look, this is one of your biggest assets, one of the most important decisions you make. Make some time to think through it. Make some time to ask the right questions, and make some time to really interview and find the absolute best agent who can get you the most amount of money. It's the same with any doctor, any lawyer, right? If I'm charged with a crime I didn't commit, or if I'm going into anything law related, I don't care about the cheapest attorney. I want the absolute best attorney who specializes in that type of law, who has amazing attention to detail, and who's going to use those small nuances to give me a competitive advantage in the marketplace. And that's the same exact thing that we do from a place of real estate. And so when you're selling a property, like I mentioned, there's 118 different variables from A to Z. And it's like having the same person at McDonald's. If it's one single agent do the front register, the draft, and the french fries at the same time, it's not going to be a very good experience. And that's the whole problem you run into with most agents. And so I did it. I got in the business. My whole family sold real estate, mom, dad, aunt, uncle, grandpa, grandma. I got in the business January 2005. And I just noticed, right, most cases were one agent trying to do all these things himself. Now you go on about 20 years later, there's a lot more technology, a lot more tools, a lot more pieces, and a lot more nuances that make or break the home sale. And it's simply impossible for one single person to juggle all those balls. That's why the agent doesn't call you back. That's why the marketing doesn't get done like it should. That's why the results aren't like that you wanted it to be. And that's why most people and most home sales are frustrated after the home sale. Either when it closes or it doesn't close, you have to go back and find somebody else. And so what I did, I said, there's got to be a better way, because most agents, all they do is the 3 Ps. They promise the world to get the listing. I mean, they tell you anything and everything to get you to list with them. Usually they're number one, right, in their office or with their mom or whatever it is. And then what happens is they put it to MLS, and 3, they pray that someone else brings a buyer. Meanwhile, they're spending all their time trying to get another listing, because that's how they want to survive in the business. And that's how they have to survive in the business, with the old school traditional 8-track tape model. And so what I did is I flipped that business model upside down and said, look, how do we make sure we have 2 main things that manage all these variables? Number one is a team of people. We created this thing as a team of specialists where each person specializes in what they do. So we make sure that they can really master their craft and they own those tasks to make sure they nail them every single time. And so what we do is we have inside sales, we have outside sales, we have a team of buyer experts, we have buyer's agents, about 25 of those, listing specialists, we have a full-time photographer, full-time videographer, full-time graphic design person. And so all these things, with that, I can now control the variables and make sure we execute for our client at the highest level. On the flip side, we also use a lot of technology to make sure we can manage those variables proactively, so the right things happen predictably every single time. And so that's what helps us create a lot more leverage. And with that team model we have, it allows us to outspend the average agent 100 to 1 from a marketing standpoint, because we're that much more efficient, and it brings so many more buyers to our sellers to sell the properties faster and for more money. And that system I designed is called the Guaranteed Sold System. It's the only proven system to sell them twice as fast and for up to 20% more money than traditional methods. And it works very, very, very well. I designed it. We licensed it to other agents, other parts of the country. It's exclusive to us here because I designed it, and it absolutely will blow your mind when you sit down. And so the reason I share that on every show is because you owe it to yourself. If you're thinking about selling at any point, anybody you know think about selling, to at least sit down and look at it and see what it does and compare it to anything else. Anybody we sit down with, we ask them the same question every single time. Part of our presentation, we say, how does this compare to anything else you've ever seen? And every single time they say they've never seen anything like it, because what I did was I looked at how businesses operated outside of real estate with traditional businesses where they have predictable results. Things happen the same way every single time. And I brought that into our business, and I hired lots and lots of mentors over the years to help us refine those systems and make sure we can operate like a real business and get our clients the actual one thing they want more than anything else. And the thing they want is a competitive advantage in the marketplace. And so exactly what that system does. Guess what? On the flip side, there's 100 plus variables for buyers out there. It's a very difficult market for buyers. There's low inventory, a lot of competition. And so you want to make sure you have someone who's an expert and who's very, very good at what they do. And so we have this thing we designed called the Unfair Advantage Home Buying System. Get you priority access to foreclosures, distress sales, desperate sellers. It's the absolute best negotiation and purchase price, as well as the overall home inspection negotiation to get you to that closing table successfully. And then we also support you after the sale with vendors to get you the absolute best plumbers, electricians, yard people, whatever you need the entire time you own the property, because we want to have clients for life. And so if you want to know more how that works, reach out to us. You owe it to yourself to at least see what a better experience could be like. Call us anytime at 843-808-SOLD, and go BlakeSloan.com anytime.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. You know, the real estate market is constantly changing. Now, here to give us more insight into this is my friend Blake Sloan of Sloan Realty Group. Now, I know certain programs make it a lot easier for the seller. Which ones do you offer?
Hey, Sean. In addition to our traditional program that sells your home for top dollar, we have an instant offer, a multi-offer, and a guaranteed offer program. I represent a large investment fund with millions of dollars who are looking to buy homes in the Grand Strand right now.
And what kind of return can you expect from them?
Here's what I'll say. Every seller's needs are different. Some need maximum convenience, and we deliver that every single time. Some need the most amount of money, and we have a program for that as well. We have a trademark program that sellers up to 5 to 10% more money than traditional industry methods.
All right, great insight, and thank you for this update. Call Blake Sloan today at 808-SOLD. That's 808-SOLD. Or online at BlakeSloan.com. That's BlakeSloan.com. And consider your home sold.
I'm excited to connect with Blake Sloan, the only real estate agent in Myrtle Beach that I recommend. You offer several options to home sales, which really takes away the stress.
That's right. For sellers that time crunch, we can agree to sell it by a certain date, take cash for your home, or even rent it.
That's great. And if the seller has a bit more time?
Use our proven marketing plan to sell it for the highest price.
Work with my friend Blake Sloan and get your home sold on your terms.
Welcome back to the Blake Sloan radio show. Speaking of what Barbara just said, we actually had an instance like that this morning. Just wanted to share before the show. The couple who has a condo in Myrtle's Inlet, a very nice condo, is looking to relocate to Akron, Ohio, but they want to find the one they're buying there first, be able to negotiate. I guess it's very competitive up there, not much inventory. And so they wanted us to come in with our fund and have an instant buyout, an upfront price. And so we went through that, got a very, very fair price for them, upfront cash. We did a closing date for October, which is when they want to move. They may move earlier, but they want to lock up the property in the meantime, potentially close on it simultaneously when they relocate for the job there. And so it's one of those things where it's maximum convenience. We can do it for a very, very short closing. If somebody wants to close in 14 days or 10 days, I can close as soon as the overall attorneys can get the paperwork done for the deed and things like that, and the title search and all that. Or we can push out closing a little bit and give that person the security of knowing they have a cash offer. They can prove that to the other buyers, the other sellers that they're buying from in a different state or different place, and allows them to negotiate a lot better. And they have the convenience of knowing, like, look, there's not going to be some buyer who's going to haggle me and try to renegotiate or anything like that. It's going to make sure it's a closed deal. And for us, in those deals we've got into, we close 100% of the time, where there's a lot of these wholesalers out now who are just making low offers and certain things, and they have no regulation. They're never planning on even closing the property. They're just trying to lock the property up with us. We have a huge real estate fund that has millions of dollars, like we mentioned on the commercial. And that's a great option. I share that because we had a great experience this morning. They feel super happy. They're very happy about it. And now they have confidence moving on, buying the property in Akron, Ohio, because they have a cash deal on that. So if you want an instant cash offer, you go to my website, BlakeSloan.com, and there's a button there. You put your address in, and it has options like home value, cash offer, or if you want a market analysis, and just click cash offer, we can get that for you. Super easy, super convenient, and that's 24/7. So really quick market update. Looking at market updates, actually doing a lot better for new deals under contract. We were a little worried there where we saw a decline slightly because rates had gone up over 7% a couple weeks ago. But if you look at last week's show, I always track two types of numbers, as you remember, for any previous listeners. We track what properties went under contract last 7 days because it helps me have a real-time pulse, and those properties that go under contract are going to close 30 to 60 days from now. If you look at what most people across the country use, they use what we call rear view mirror data, and that data is the properties that closed last month, which is decisions based on data that's up to 90 days old. And that's not the best thing you want to do if you're looking to get the most amount of money. And so I want to share both those numbers with you. Last week's show, there's 538 properties that went under contract in our entire MLS for $194,842,000. This week's show, it's up to 568 from 538, which is great. And now it's at $201,335,084. So up significantly, up about $7 million, which is awesome. And about 30 properties difference. And so that's always good to see that trend up. And like I mentioned previously, anytime we're at $200 million or more here on the Grand Strand for a 7-day period, that's a lot. That's great news for us. And that's the target I kind of use to say, hey, look, we're in a super hot market right now. And of course, that's lining up with summertime here in Myrtle Beach. If you look at properties, last week there was 11 over $1 million that went under contract, which is great compared to last week was 13. This week, 86 properties over 500,000 went under contract versus 83 last week. And right now there's 853 active single-family homes in Horry County. Last week showed there's 830 homes active in Horry County. And so it's up significantly about 23 properties, which is great news. And so that's good news for buyers out there. We're still seeing very tight inventory. And so that's very good numbers. Just going back as a quick example, if we go back to January 6th, I keep this number here just to kind of reference. Back then there was 364 properties for 125 million, and we just wrapped this week up with 201 million. So 75 million more dollars, 75 million more dollars in real estate sold in a 7-day period is very good news for us. Looking at the rear view mirror numbers we talked about, we touched on them a couple weeks ago. If you look at single family resale homes, they declined 19.5% last month. And so if you look at June, is obviously we're looking backwards there. For June, those numbers last year were 662, this year 533. And so you can see about a 20% decrease there overall. The good news is price is still up. Overall median price is up. It's at $385,000 right now, which is great. And it's actually a new high, a new record high for us here on the Grand Strand. Previously, the highest record was back in May 2022 at $380,000. And it bounced back around. It went down all the way down to $345 in April this year. Right now it's back up over to $385, which is a new record for median price year versus year, up 8.7% right now. And the overall average sale price $490,798, which is really good. And that's not quite the high. We saw a record high here in April this year at 496. Right now we're at 490. That's great news. The overall thing that's protecting price right now, even though you see a 20% decrease in sales, price is still staying high because inventory is still very low. Inventory right now is at 2.9 months of inventory, meaning that there wasn't a single property listed. How long would it take at the current run rate to go through all the properties? Right now it's at 2.9 months. Historically, we're anywhere between 4 to 7, right? If you look at anything 6 months or below, it's a seller's market, meaning the seller has the advantage because there's just less properties available. And we've been that for a long time. We're going to continue being that for a long time just because we're in a housing shortage after the 2008 crisis. Houses just didn't get population. We're seeing that happen here the past few years. And so that's one thing that's helping protect price. Very good news overall for home sellers out there, because guess what? Even though sales are down, your prices are still up, which is awesome news. If you look at closed sales for condos last month, down 13.3%, 526 condos closed last month. Into prices, if you look at overall median price is up 1.7% year versus year at $239,000 even. If you look at average sale prices, 0.3% at $281,779. So that's great news there overall. And so the same thing you're seeing there with inventory. Inventory is still very low. Right now it's at 8.2 months. And so if you're thinking about selling, you definitely want to time that up in terms of what's happening right now with the seasonality. We all know Myrtle Beach is a seasonal marketplace. And what we've been seeing is just the majority of the buyers that we're seeing coming in from out of the area, usually from the Northeast. We're getting a lot of buyers right now from California, from Las Vegas. Those are a lot of investors looking for short-term rentals. But ideally, we're seeing a lot of second homes. We're seeing a lot of big high-end purchases. And most of those buyers are coming from the Northeast. But they're timing them along with their summer vacation. So if you want to think about getting your property sold this year, then I was telling my whole team that this week, look, hustle super hard right now, because this is when obviously you want to make the hay while the sun shines. And so you don't want to wait till it slows down in that late fall to winter market, because people just tend to get paralyzed once you get around the holidays and things like that. And so if you want to get the most amount of money, do it right now while inventory is very, very low, while rates are still very affordable. And overall, there's a lot of people coming in town buying. And so I mentioned, if you want an instant home valuation, go right to blakesloan.com anytime. But more importantly, just reach out, call us. We're hustling all day, every day. My team's working right now, working entire weekend, working all week next week. And so you can always call me, save me in your phone, 843 808. So looking at interest rate. So we a 15-year fix though right now 6.37%, which is great. A 30-year jumbo loan 6.98%. A 5-year adjust rate mortgage right now 6.95. A 30-year FHA 6.60, and a 30-year VA 6.59. So it's still good. As long as I'm close to 7%, I'm okay. You're seeing that be kind of the new normal here now. But as long as it doesn't get up too high, I think we're going to see a very, very strong finish here to our summer market overall. And so we'll take a quick break, right back in a second here with our hot buyers alert.
Hey, WRNN listeners, Clay Travis here. As investors in real estate, Buck and I both know exactly what to look for to find the agent with the best tools and marketing to get the highest sales price possible for a home.
Totally true, Clay. And here in Myrtle Beach, that agent is our friend Blake Sloan.
I have
Sloan Realty Group.
around
If you need to
6-ish
sell a home and
minutes.
buy
Okay,
a new one,
thank you.
ask Blake about his guarantee.
Get this, Blake guarantees to sell your home at a price and deadline you agree to, or he'll buy it himself. And since you know when your current home will sell by and for how much, you can buy your next home without worrying about getting stuck with 2 mortgages.
There's simply no other agent in the market who has a guarantee that will line up against what Blake Sloan can offer you. So when you're looking to sell and buy, he is your guy. Read nearly 750 5-star reviews by Googling Sloan Realty Group. Give Blake a call today and start packing. That's Sloan Realty Group.
And tune in to Blake's shows Saturdays at 9 a.m. and Sundays at 11:30 a.m.
Welcome back to the Blake Sloan Real Estate Show. Hot buyers alert. My team and I are working with a ridiculous amount of home buyers who are looking to buy properties here on the Myrtle Beach Grand Strand area, anywhere from $250,000 to $4.4 million. If you're thinking about selling, please contact us immediately. 843-808-SOLD. That's 843-808-SOLD. One of the things I've been doing that I'm very, very proud of for many years is we put our money where our mouth is here. And I get the question all the time of like, what makes you different than anyone else? And so the main thing I say is, look, we can outspend the average agent 100 to 1 from a marketing standpoint to get you more exposure for your property. And how we do that is we market to buyers from all across the globe, spend tens and tens of thousands of dollars a month, every month, driving in traffic from all over the internet, where most people obviously go to search. And we bring them to our listings first, because here's the deal. I'm in business to make money. And if I match up buyer and seller, it's more profitable for us. But at the same time, guess what? That's what you hired us to do, is actually sell the property, not sit back and pop an MLS and just put our feet up and wait for someone else to sell it. And so that's what makes us different. And so looking at this week's numbers, we do it every week for years and years and years. Active home buyers on our website right now, 73,047 active home buyers. Again, 73,047 active home buyers. And these aren't just hits. This isn't like traffic. These are username, password account. People actually have an account with us that are searching the site, that are active here with us. And like right now, I got Jose Munoz from Myrtle Beach. I got Lothar from Myrtle Beach. I got Wanda Jeffries from New York, New York. I got David from Chicago, Illinois. I got Patty from Norristown, PA. I got Robert from Ottawa, Ontario. I got Tanya and Kim from Wyandotte, Michigan. I got Edgewater, Maryland. I can't even say this one. Pacochi, New York. I got Fountain Inn, South Carolina. Pittsfield, Massachusetts. Rock Hill, South Carolina. Bloomfield, Connecticut. Atlanta, Georgia. Waxhaw, North Carolina. Rochester, New York, Pasadena, Texas, Prospect, Connecticut. And so as you see, we have a global reach here, and we're able to have these buyers we have. First thing we do once we get your listing is we don't just put it in MLS. We put it in MLS. We've also put it in our system here. We have 25 plus buyers agents who are on the phones every day, all day. Like I mentioned in previous shows, we make 16,000 plus phone calls a week. Obviously, we track it to our active buyers here, following back up, matching up buyers and sellers, because that's what we're here to do. We're very aggressive. And so going with your friend down the street who just got the real estate license, guess what they can't do? They can't bring you 73,047 buyers, and they can't bring you 16,000 phone calls a week matching up buyers to your property. And that's what makes us different. And on top of that, we have a technology that allows us to take any new listing, aka your house. The minute it goes live, we click a button and it reverse engineers through the 73,000 buyers, and it basically scores all those buyers to the whoever's the most likely one to buy your property, and it scores them at 1 to 100. And so what we do is we score them, and we call obviously the most likely ones, reach out to them and say, hey, we got a brand new property. It matches exactly what you're looking for. Here's the cool part. They know who we are because they've been searching our site for a while. And also the technology works, and it's exactly what they've been searching for. And so that aggressiveness and that ability to have a sales team for the same price as anyone else out there allows us to be able to reach out proactively through our massive pool of buyers, match up to your property, and that's how they sell faster and for more money. And you can see, you add these small things up like that over a period of time, and that's how the aggressiveness comes in, and that's how we're able to push harder to get your property sold. And so if you're thinking about selling, guess what? I need inventory. We talked about earlier, we're in inventory shortage. We're still in a super seller's market. Reach out, call me if you know anyone thinking about selling. 843-808 sold. And so really quick, get a couple success stories. This is another one similar. Lee owned a townhome Myrtle Beach, had been trying to get it sold for 3+ months. He was listed with a different realtor during that time, never received a single offer. Lee had a new construction property under contract to purchase, but it was contingent upon him selling his townhouse in Myrtle Beach. The builder told he would lose out in the new home he wanted. So leave the realtors and investors do that, and we could guarantee his home to sell. We basically came in, designed a custom plan, launched our global marketing blitz, gave him a guarantee as well. And what happened was we launched a custom plan, global marketing blitz, professional photo, virtual walkthrough tour, and started to drive massive traffic. Within a couple of days, had Lee a fantastic full price offer on his home. Now he was able to move into the new construction one and not to worry about losing out, while he still put money in his pocket, didn't have to go to some lowball investor going through our system we have there as well. Also, Hugh and Addie own a condo in Myrtle Beach. They use it as a second home. They come down to Myrtle Beach. Recently, their building went through a ton of HOA issues, some dangerous issues, I guess you say, with the oil place. Thankfully, HOA got right on it, started resolving the issues, making the building safe again. But they massively increased HOAs. They didn't feel comfortable with the property anymore. They decided it was time to sell. The problem was they didn't know if they get what they wanted for the unit, because other people in the overall building were trying to sell as well, because it was kind of like a quick fire sale. Thankfully, reached out to us. We met with them, designed a custom plan to differentiate their condo, launched our global marketing blitz, virtuality walkthrough, drove massive traffic within a couple of days, had Hugh and Addie a fantastic offer from their condo for more than they thought they'd get. They were able to get out of there and still get top dollar using our system. So if you want to be one of our success stories, reach out, call me, 843-808-SOLD or BlakeSloan.com anytime.